so well. So I want to talk about a concept called the Expert Lead Accelerator, which is for quite a few years I did a talk called How to Market Yourself as the Expert, and this is kind of my updated version of that talk. And I think you would have, did you see me speak in Miami back in 2019? So that was an early version of this talk. So was it? Was that where he's been following me ever since? It can't have been that bad a talk. So there was a part of that that will overlap with this. But ultimately, if we want to be seen, if we want to have a flow of our ideal clients coming towards us, we've got to make sure that we position ourselves as the expert. And obviously within our different businesses, there's different, our ideal client is all different. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what our business is. If we're looking for new clients of one form or another, we've got to make sure that we're seen as the expert in front of them. And there's lots of different ways that we can do that. But one of the stories that I put in the Dream Retirement, in Entrepreneurial Happiness about this, was about when I was in New Zealand. My younger years. So I was in Queenstown, traveling, backpacking around the world, and actually, no, it wasn't. It was the second time I was in Queenstown, and I was with my Chris, who was my best man, and we'd been and done bungee jumping that day, and we went to, there's a really cool bar, and I can't think of what it's called, but it's a really cool backpacker bar with a pool table in the middle of Queenstown, and we were in there. And in there drinking, and we'd normally typically, Chris and I would almost always play pool wherever we were. So, but in that bar that night, there was a pool competition. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever played pool in New Zealand, but they have different rules in New Zealand than I've played anywhere else. So most places, if you commit a foul, you get 2 shots. Now, whether, different rules will mean that whether you carry those 2 shots on or not, but in New Zealand, there is no such thing as 2 shots. There is no penalty for committing a foul other than you're not allowed to commit a foul. So if it's an intentional foul, you just lose the game. But of course, this is flawed in the sense of what is an intentional foul. Anyway, so Chris and I are like, oh yeah, we'll enter the pool competition, and we're playing, and I got through to the final. I don't know where Chris went out, but we'd played quite a lot of pool. We played pool at school, so we were pretty okay at it. And in the final, I go to see who am I playing in the final, and it's just got the Chief versus Charlie. I'm like, oh, great, that's exactly what I need. The Chief, yeah, exactly. And sure enough, the Chief is this Maori guy, sleeveless shirt, muscles bursting out of every corner. And anyway, we're playing this game of pool, and I'm actually doing quite well. I've got him on the ropes, and then he plays a shot that is blatantly a deliberate foul. And Chris is like, "That was a deliberate foul, caught." And I'm like looking at the Chief, going, "I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt." And sure enough, the Chief ended up winning that day. Now, if had that been in a UK bar and we were playing UK rules, I reckon I would have spoken up and said, no. But playing in New Zealand against a Maori guy with muscles rippling out of every corner, he was the expert. And there was no question that if I wanted to go and win another pool tournament in New Zealand, the person I would have gone to make sure I could win it was the Chief. He was the expert. And that's what we want to do. We want to position ourselves as the only person that our ideal clients know that will absolutely deliver the result that we're looking for in whatever it is that we're doing. And that's exactly what I try to do with the Dream Retirement. Because what I was trying to do was to say, well, look, our ideal clients are people that are in the lead up to retirement. So by writing a book about this, I'm positioning myself as the expert. And so we generated over £1 million of fee income that we could directly attribute to the book, The Dream Retirement. That was to people that we either gave the book to, or that people gave the book to, or we spoke at an event because of the book. The book totally transformed our marketing approach at Efficient Portfolio way beyond what we expected it to. And there's quite a lot of different reasons why that's the case. But people see you differently when they see you as the expert. Now, I'm not saying a book is the only way you can do that. And the whole point of this talk is to say, actually, there is lots of different ways that you can do that. But a book is the most powerful I have found that's easily reachable. And let me give you an example. So my dad is a retired farmer, plays golf at Luffenham Heath, which is a really good golf club. But he's very withdrawn in terms of he doesn't want to be seen to be bragging. So, for example, at my sister's wedding, he was reluctant to speak because he didn't want to stand up in front of his friends and say, how good my daughter is. Ridiculous, but anyway. So he never referred anyone to me as a financial planner. He would happily allow other people, more than happy for them to come to me, but he would never refer anyone to me. He was about my first financial services client, but never once referred. So for then 16 years, didn't refer one client to me. Finished writing the Dream Retirement. Can't get the bloody things out quick enough. I'm going down to the golf club and somebody will call me and say, "Oi, I haven't had a copy of the Dream Retirement, but I see these guys have." I'm like, "Don't worry, I'll happily go get you one." You could not give them out quick enough. Totally transformed his opinion of how I was positioned, but also it made it really, really easy to give that book away and position me as the expert. And that book led on to a whole load of different things. So I was on the cover of industry magazines, got regular slots in as the financial expert on LBC Radio, was on ITV. I can't remember what the program was called. It wasn't the news, it was a news program. Tonight, ITV Tonight, there we go. That was all because I'd written the book. I ended up on having numerous radio interviews. I had one really awkward one where the guy was like, "How on earth did you get here?" Because I'd got the book, I was being interviewed by this absolute arsehole. But anyway, it was because of this book. I have no doubt that it got me on the stage for a fact, it got me on the stage numerous times. Certainly at MDRT, this photo was taken in Miami, where I was speaking in front of 11,000 of my colleagues from around the world. The book would have certainly helped me in that process. But ultimately, it's because I'd positioned myself as the expert. And we spoke at all sorts of conferences because the book could position you as that expert. Another way that it positioned me as the expert was when we were introduced to a couple that were going to be very wealthy people, very good clients. But he was really busy, I was really busy, and it was at a time where the business was a lot smaller. So I'd only got one other advisor, which was Tom, and he was a fairly junior advisor at the time. But so this wealthy client it wasn't the Beckhams, but it was a wealthy client that came to us, and I would have had to have seen that. Any other position, any other client like that, I needed to see that client, not put them in front of Tom. But I was really busy, he was really busy, and we just could not find a time that we could make work. So in the end, I did have the faith to book him in to see Tom, but I said, "Look, I'll just try and duck into the meeting and just say hello and introduce myself. And I think it's like I can give you 10 minutes at the start of the meeting, then I'm going to have to go off and do my other thing." And I thought, this is going to be a disaster. He's going to hate this. Actually, he was unbelievably grateful that I spent 10 minutes of the meeting with him and everything else was done by Tom. So I'd spent 10 minutes with this client and he was really grateful. And I have zero doubt that the reason that was because he'd had the book, he'd read the book, and he was like, "Right, Charlie is the expert. And the fact that I'm getting 10 minutes with the expert, even though I'm kind of all the rest of the process is being taken care of by Tom," he was unbelievably grateful. And he was a client all the way through to the point where we sold. So it positions you unbelievably well with the right audience. And I've told this story before. how many of you remember the story of Gaza and Gaza and not signing for Manchester United? So I won't tell it again. Have any of you read Joe Polish's book, What's in It for Them? If I'm honest, it's not the best marketing book ever, but it is quite good. But the thing that he talks about a lot within it is you've got to be a pain detective. You've got to understand where the pain points of your ideal clients are. And that's what we're really trying to do. And that's where, when I think back to what I did right with the Dream Retirement, it was the pain detective in me was knowing that people, my ideal clients, the people in the lead up to retirement, were worried that they were on track for a crap retirement. So the pain detective in me was, and that is not just about the money. That was about how am I going to spend my time, because I'm really worried about that. Yes, I'm worried about the money, but also how am I not going to be like the other people that become a shadow of their former self and kind of wither away quickly into retirement. That was the pain detective in me that was understanding those pain points and then writing a book that was positioning me as the expert for them. And so that's what Joe Polish is all about. And really, that's why before we could do this piece of work, I wanted you to do the ideal client SWOT analysis, because if you really understand, what the absolute, the pain points are and the opportunities, because it's not just about the negative and the pain, it's also about the positive and the opportunity. If you really understand that and you can communicate around that, you can position yourself as the expert in front of these people. And you've got it right when they look at it and they go, wow, that's talking directly to me. Like at the moment, we're looking at different social media marketing companies. And before Christmas, I clicked on a link on social media that was talking about that sort of stuff. And of course, ever since then, every other advert is somebody, are you a coach and looking for leads in your business? And you're like, well, I am actually. So you've immediately position yourself as the expert because you know my pain point. And that's what we're trying to do. One of the other things we've done in a previous workshop is we talked about your story. The one story you need to have absolutely nailed down, whether you get 2 minutes or 20 minutes to tell it, is you need to know the 3 chapters of your story that positions you as the expert. And that is a really important part. I mean, on the Efficient Portfolio website, I think we've talked about it before, Nitesh, haven't we? That and our team page were the 2 most watched visited pages, and the number of people that would come to us and the first thing and say, oh, I watched your story, watched your video on telling your story, because again, that story is a way of positioning me as the expert. It's, this is where I've come from, this is the challenge I've gone through, and this is now why I am the best person to help you with your pain points. So you've got to have your story nailed down. If you don't have that story nailed down, then obviously the recording of that is in the portal, but I'd really encourage you to do it, because that story is a part of positioning you as the expert. It's one way that you can do that. So every time you get the opportunity to speak, you can stand up and position yourself as the expert with that story. But of course, if you want to write a book, create video content for your website, write a blog, one of the obvious places to start is creating this story. It occurred to me as I was putting this together, I don't think we've got the updated version of my story on the Trusted Team website. Yeah. It's on the audit. Excellent. There we go. Absolutely. Excellent. So it's in hand. Well, the other things that, and we talked a bit about this with when we talked about stories, is you've got to have a list of your best stories. If you haven't already done this, you want a story directory, a directory of stories that you can tell, like the story of the chief I just told you. Like, I came up with that story years ago. It's probably not the best story I could tell about positioning you as the expert, but it's a nice, gentle introduction into a concept. That story has been, it was in Entrepreneurial Happiness. If I was in the middle of an interview on a podcast or on the radio and somebody mentioned this, I could very easily just tell that story as a really nice story to kind of introduce this particular concept. So we want a list of our best stories. One of mine, obviously, my first Ironman is this. If I have an opportunity, I'll use that as a segue into a number of different topics, actually. So you want that list of ideal stories that position you as the expert. And like Claire's already referred to, the power of having that framework, which we also did in the framework formula, and Andy Harrington talked a bit about in his talk, is that then gives you the framework within which, again, you can position yourself as the expert. So this is another amazing tool. And in fact, if we think about my framework for the trusted team, it's the Better Future framework. So when I explain, if somebody says, well, what is entrepreneurial happiness, or how do you help businesses? I've got this framework in my mind. I can use this framework. So I can use this framework to build a program like we're doing today. I could use it to build an online course, which we've done in the past, called the Better Future framework, is it? I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. Another online course. You can use it to build a book around, but this is my intellectual property. So when somebody says, oh, hang on, I'm going to go to the expert on building a business whilst working less and enjoying it more, then this is aiming to position. Nobody else can deliver the Better Future framework. It's mine. And so it's positioning me as the expert in front of my ideal clients. And it's one of the reasons why, again, we need to do the framework formula before we did this piece, because it's one of the pieces in the jigsaw to position you. And an online course or training program or whatever is a great way of doing that. And in this day and age, one of the best ways that we can deliver our marketing is through what would be termed as attraction marketing devices. So whether it's a book, whether it's an online course, whether it's a talk, all of these are devices that you can give away for free or at very little cost in exchange for marketing to somebody. So a book is fantastic. If you give a brochure, a brochure is an attraction marketing device. It's a really bad one because you know full well it's in the bin less than 24, or it sits on somebody's desk for a couple of days and then they go, no, I still can't be asked to read it. Now I'm going to file it in the bin. Nobody ever throws a book away. It's like your best ever business card and brochure all rolled into one. It sits, even if they don't read it at the time, it sits there on their bookshelf. And at some point they go, do you know what? I need somebody to talk about retirement. Oh, hang on, I've got a book on the shelf that does that. If they're talking to their friends about it, it might not be right for them, but what are they going to do? They're going to give them a book to read. The book is an amazing attraction marketing device, but there's loads of different ones. So can you give me some, let's go around the room and just shout out a few, and feel free to unmute online. What are some other attraction marketing devices? But what I mean by attraction marketing devices is, let's say you're in the middle of an interview on the radio, on live radio, and you want something that you can give out, you can mention, that people will go, oh, that's a free this, I'll download that, or I'll do that, or I'll read that. And in exchange, I get the opportunity to market to them thereafter. So what are some other examples, other than the book, which we've got in the top left-hand corner? What are some other examples of attraction marketing devices? Excellent. I will repeat this so that these guys can hear. An online quiz, funnily enough, the Entrepreneur Scorecard. Excellent. Thank you, Charlotte.
Free webinars, workshops.
Free webinars, workshops, absolutely. Webinars, workshops are brilliant for that. You're getting their contact details in exchange for giving them value, and then you can continue to market to them thereafter. Brilliant. Another one?
Golf day?
Golf day. Golf day sort of is. It's not really, because it's a physical event and it costs you money. Yes, you can give that away like an attraction marketing device, but it's not really an attraction marketing device is something you can just continually give out as many times. Like if you were on the radio, you'd be fairly brave to say, oh, and if you click this, if you go to this site, you can have a free place at our golf day. So that's kind of a slightly different one, but it's another way of doing it. Thanks, Ian. What about?
Term them as taster sessions, but for us, we give away free profit or cash flow improvement sessions.
Ooh.
Taster sessions.
Yes, so for a free session with somebody as an attraction marketing device, absolutely. And in fact, that's the way that I'm seeing the social media world working at the moment. Is we'll give you a free 15-minute session with the coach, and that free 15-minute session leads on to a free hours session and then we're going to use that hour session to move you into something where you're paying for it. So yeah, absolutely, that's a good example. Any others?
Well, things they can fill in or download, like they're doing something for themselves.
Yeah, like a white paper, for example, or a planner, or a tool, or the quiz, or something like that. Absolutely, yep, that's really good.
Something physical.
Like what?
So for the 3D printed parts business, we're sending everyone a 3D printed small Porsche.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Three. To put you in front of them and make sure you go.
Yeah. So that is exactly that. But you've got to think about. You've got to make sure that you've got the follow-up sequence to market to them thereafter. The other downside of having something physical is it actually does cost you money, but then a book costs you money, so it's no different to that. So yeah, absolutely, a physical thing. Anything else? Anyone else? Newsletter, brilliant one. You know, they're giving you your email address, and you've got permission to their. You know, you can obviously you're giving them value, but you're marketing to them thereafter. I'm trying to think whether I've missed any. So online courses or live events. And that sort of stuff. The obvious one that nobody's mentioned actually is the podcast. We'll talk about that as an attraction marketing device later on. Blog, kind of, that is an attraction marketing device, but you're not getting their contact details in exchange for them reading that necessarily. But again, well, absolutely, you can do. What else have I missed? Better Future Frameworks. So that's the having a framework and formula or an online course as well.
An audit's another one. Common with website companies who will do an audit.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. This is what's going wrong. And in fact, we did that actually in the financial planning business. I'd forgotten about that. So we did an ad sequence based on, we'll review your portfolio for free. We just, you can just send it to us. We'll have a look at it and we'll tell you what's good about it and what's not. And it's a very light touch, but you guys know it's very easy to look at a portfolio and go, actually, are they on the right tracks? And we can always find fault with anything, can't we? If you're really looking. So, but it was a really nice way of just getting people to go, oh, that's an interesting idea. I'd quite happily have a second opinion on that, or website audit or something like that.
That's why audit works as well. We do it when we target. We send the things that were all wrong, and then immediately the person's going panicking, going, but we're not doing this right.
Yeah.
So that will actually.
Yeah. And one of the other things you can incorporate into this is, and another one which is essentially tied into these. One of the books I'm going to mention later on is $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozy. That seems to be the most talked about book in the world of marketing at the moment. Everyone seems to be on that book. But he talks a lot about the risk reversal. So the risk reversal is, so for example, a mate of mine who runs a coaching business for podiatrists, for some reason I keep seeing he's advertising to me on Instagram. I don't know why, but it's nice to see a familiar face. But his risk reversal is, I will double your profit and your free time over the course of, I can't remember what the time window is. Now that's a bold statement, and he's clearly confident he can deliver that, or he's got a very good contract that means that it's quite difficult for them to actually execute that. I don't know, but that is a really powerful risk reversal tool that Alex Hormozy talks a little bit about. And the quiz funnel, I think, is a really we're not making enough use of the entrepreneurial happiness scoreboard. But this, to me, is a really lovely attraction marketing device, because nowadays I would talk about this, not as much as the book, but probably I think it's as powerful. If I said to you, essentially, so what this is somebody going onto the trusted team. They answer about 20 questions, I would think. And then at the end of it, we send them a bespoke report that says, well, this is what you're not doing so well, and this is how you could improve your business. Now, ultimately, for everyone they answer on the negative side, we've got a set paragraph that goes in. Nitesh built that for us, and we've got a few versions of that. We've got the 2-minute retirement planner, we've got the 1-minute wealth protector, and a few others. But the entrepreneurial happiness scoreboard is the one that's relevant to this group. So you can build it yourself. and without doing the test out of a job, there is actually an interact.com, which you can actually now use to create this yourself. But I think this is a really nice way of giving value, but also getting the opportunity to market to them and highlighting how you can help them. So once you've got this attraction marketing device, you've obviously got to get them giving you your opportunity to market to them as much as possible. So probably the best advice we got off my publisher for the Dream Retirement was give the digital version of the book away for free. Because immediately, whoa, no, whoa, I've put 3 years into writing this book. I don't want to be giving it away for free. But absolutely, it was the right thing to do, because anybody that downloads that book is now in our marketing sequence, and we 3 years later, we're still we'd have people coming to a dinner like, well, where did you find out about us? Oh, well, I downloaded the Dream Retirement when you spoke on that. I kept getting emails from you, but it wasn't the right time. And then this one email came, and it was the right time, and it was a nice dinner. And you're like, so you basically got a marketing machine that's creating leads while you sleep. So having a book, but giving it away for free is the key thing. And actually, if they're your ideal client, you want to give the physical book away for free. So we took this to another level. So originally it was digital book, download free. If we know you, if we're seeing you in person, we'll give you a book for free. So for example, we sponsored an event at the golf day, and we gave everybody that played in the Pro-Am a copy of the book, as well as a couple of other gifts. We actually took this to another level though, and we said, when you download the digital book for free, you go through some pre-qualifying questions, and if you qualify, if we can tell that you're our ideal client from the way you answer those questions, we'll then send you a physical book for free. And so again, that is just like, I mean, I haven't seen anyone else do that, but I know for a fact, if I downloaded a free book and they said, hang on, you're the right sort of person, we'd love to send you a free copy of the physical book, that would stand out in my mind, and that worked well for us. Another term that Alex Hormozy used on this, in his book, is jab, 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 hook. So you give value, give value, give value, try and sell something. Oh yes, you're right. That is Gary Vaynerchuk. Thank you. And so you've got to give value, 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 ask for something. Give value, 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 ask for something. And of course, when you're doing something like a book or a blog or a course or whatever it is, you want them to give. You want to have. So sometimes they won't have received. You won't have got their email address. Let's say at the golf day, we've given them a book. We don't know who's playing at the golf day. So within the attraction marketing device, you've also got to have something for them to download, so that you've got your information, their information through that route as well. So it's really important that you create an opportunity to download something. So when I did the Life Legacy Gift, we had the Life Legacy Gift Planner. Nowadays, that actually directs people to Kilu, to Ian and Sarah instead. But the original version, which was written for our clients, it was download this free planner, because this will help you organize your estate and get your estate in a much better position. But at that point, we knew they'd got their details. And one of the lovely things about a book, but you can do this with anything else physical, is send them 2. And then what are they going to do with the second one? They're going to even ask them. But we've sent you 2 copies of the book. We've sent you 2 of the little mini Porsche. Give the second one to somebody else that drives a Porsche. Send them 2, then this is the way that you capture the details of where those have ended up. So there's loads of ways you can do that. Obviously, it helps to the attraction marketing devices are a way of helping the future clients. So I said that was the case with Dream Retirement. Smart Money, we wrote specifically, this was for people at the start of their financial services journey. So we don't actually want you as clients yet. We want to give you an education so that when you become viable clients, the only place you come is to us. So this was about our future clients. So how can we do this a lot easier? I'm currently writing the Business of Endurance book, which is essentially, so we've done 100 episodes of the podcast. And what I've done is I've created, so within ChatGPT now, you can create your own GPTs. So I've uploaded my previous books. I've uploaded a summarized script of every podcast that we've got into this GPT. So the GPT was originally called Endurance Author. It's now just Charlie.ai. And so now I can ask that GPT to write stuff based on my beliefs, my experience, my stories. I can ask it to look through the 100 episodes and pull out. So here are the, pull out the top threads around nutrition, for example. And I can actually just say, write a chapter based on nutrition from these, but draw on a concept from the trusted team and link it up to one of the tools that we've got. And that is my own version of ChatGPT doing that for me. The way you can use that really well, I know we've touched on this before, but you can use the VoxScript plugin so that if you've got video content of you, so I could turn today's video into a transcript by using the VoxScript plugin. So turn that into text, and then you could upload that, and it would have all of everything I've talked about today. Obviously, you could also use Otter.ai to upload the transcript as well. But using these things, I mean, when I wrote The Dream Retirement, it took me 3 years to get it out. This book will take me longer than it needs to take me because I want to spend time. I'm actually enjoying the process of doing it, and I want to craft it. But if I wanted to get this book out this month, I could probably do it this afternoon, actually, if I really wanted to. And there's not a word written yet. Yeah, that's how easy it is. Yeah. So one of the other tools I think is really powerful when you're doing anything like this, whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, is mind mapping it out. And I know we've talked about this before, but I use a tool called AYOA, AYOA.com. It's by Tony Buzan, who's a kind of the guru on mind mapping. But what I love is, and the advice I've always given to people if they want to write a book is, what you want to do is create a list of the stories you love to tell, the stories that position you as the expert, the stories of the case studies of your best clients. Create a list of the topics that you know that you need to talk about. And the best way of doing that is, what's the question that the client should be asking me on these? And then you go through and pair them up. So essentially, if I go back to the start of this talk, it's like, right, okay, I've got the story of the chief in Queenstown. I want to talk about marketing yourself as the expert. Right, I can see a segue from one to the other, pair those up. And then whether it's a blog article where you start talking about the chief and end up talking about marketing yourself as the expert, whether it's a chapter of the book, whether it's a section of a chapter of the book, whether it's a blog article, it doesn't matter. And by using AOA, you can just kind of build out that mind map really nicely and pair things up. And as it evolves, you'll probably go, actually, don't know, that story really fits quite so well there, but it would fit better there. You'll have spare stories that you don't know what to do with, and gradually that'll become clear as you write it. So I think that's a really powerful tool to mind map it all out and pair things up. And then obviously building a framework around it, as we talked about in the framework formula, is really powerful, because that's ultimately how a service business demonstrates, because we don't have physical products, do we? We don't have lovely Porsches like Nitesh is giving away. But what we do have is an intellectual solution that's we're going to get them from where they are at the moment, which is experiencing all the pain that they're currently experiencing, to maximizing the opportunities. So if we can create a framework around the journey that we take them on, then that allows us to demonstrate that much better. And it's much easier to build that once you've kind of conceptualized it within a mind map. And this is just a good example of how an author did that around the 5 languages of love. So that's a very famous book, and that whole book is built on that framework. You can, of course, create imagery once you've done this. Can anybody tell me what book this is? Shouldn't paradox, absolutely. You know, you can create imagery around this. Another book on marketing that I've read recently is The Snow Leopard. And if you're going to produce a book, if you think a book is the right thing for you, I'd really recommend reading this, because what he talks about, like, I love the fact that I mean, The Snow Leopard is when somebody said you should read The Snow Leopard, I was like, isn't that like a David Attenborough documentary? But no, apparently not. It's all about niching down. Get really, really niche, because like I mentioned, those social media adverts. Are you a coach looking for more leads in your business? Yes, that's me. I'm immediately bought in. They've niched down. If that was are you a business owner looking? Yeah, I am. But they've niched down. It makes it really easy to market to me, and it creates way more buy-in. And that's what Snow Leopard is talking about. It also suggests that the personal development books are the most successful books when it comes to promoting your business. It gives you, there's 7 different categories of books that it says work, but personal development does the best job in this particular space. And another thing you can do in this, which we're going to do in the Business of Endurance book, is tie this in with your partnerships. So, for example, in the nutrition chapter, I'm going to have for every chapter, I'm going to have an expert commentating on it. So Shane Benzie, who I was chatting to a few of you about, he's going to be my expert in one of the chapters on nutrition. Claire is going to be the expert that kind of comments on. So we're going to have the common threads from 100 episodes of top people from the world of endurance sport saying these are the themes that are most important with regards to nutrition. But then we've got an expert commentating on that for each chapter. Why is that so important? Well, my hope is that people like Claire are going to go, I'm featured as the expert in this book. I'm going to give it out to my clients, which is really, so if we've got 12 experts that have got big followings, all trying to get rid of that book to their audience, that becomes incredibly powerful. If you're worried about writing a book, the best way to do it is to create what they term the vomit draft to start with. Don't worry about any editing or anything like that. Just get everything out on paper, get it down. The beautiful thing of ChatGPT is it's going to do most of the work from your vomit draft to turning into an actually defined, a refined chapter at the end. Don't bother editing it yourself. Delegate that either to an AI or a Charlotte or somebody through Upwork. Yep, you've. And if you're struggling to even come up with the chapter concepts, use ChatGPT to help you. They can give you the chapters. You know, I want to write a book that helps people like this that have these pain points. Give me the 12 chapters that you think would be most relevant. Use it as a brainstorming tool. You know, I think that this is incredibly powerful as to how we can come up with ideas and frameworks and concepts and naming stuff. Like I was having a debate with somebody recently about this, and you know, my book, The Business of Endurance, is that written by AI? No. Is it written by me? No. It's me teaming up with AI. AI is one of the tools that I'm using to produce this book effectively and efficiently. And actually, I think I can make a better book than I'd ever be able to do if I was thinking, right, okay, what do I recall people talking about with regards to nutrition? This is going to pull out threads that I would have missed.
What was the debate about?
The debate. What did I just? Oh yeah, that was it. The debate was so with online marketing, you're potentially going to need to disclose whether it was AI generated, and Google will downrate AI generated content. And the debate was, is this book AI generated? Like, well, it's AI, part of it is, but it's me conducting the AI orchestra. And so the advice was this would not impact that at all. If you were only using this for blogs and the written word was ultimately all coming out of AI at the end, that would be a worry if you were using it purely for SEO purposes. But that's a constantly evolving beast, isn't it?
Google can't do anything about it. They're
Yeah.
all of the onus and honesty on the individual, because the contract, what has been written, what hasn't been written.
Yeah. So it's,
I suppose when you think about ChatGPT in another world, you've just got called it research.
yeah,
You know, so before you've actually written a book, you know, nothing's really original, is it? You know,
No.
everything's kind of, so it's kind of, you know, the forerunner of being ChatGPT was research.
yeah, absolutely. And my research can be better as a result of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I can find, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Has anyone seen 11 Labs? Have you seen 11 Labs? AI tool. I love this. So, how many people here listen to books rather than read books? So, kind of roughly 50%, just under 50%. So, if I give you a book, you're not going to read it, or I'm not going to read it, unless it has to be really important for me to read a physical book, because it will take me forever to read it. Give me an audio book, and it's important to me, vaguely important to me, I'll have read it by the end of this week. 11 Labs can turn your text into your audiobook with your voice. Now, if I read my book, it would be a hideous audiobook, because as you've probably witnessed at the start of today, like me reading stuff is bad. I'm happy to speak what is in my mind, but reading stuff, because I'm dyslexic, is horrible. So what you can do is you can upload 3 hours worth of your voice, and it will create your voice. And so at the moment, 11 Labs is still processing my 3 hours of content, so I don't have my voice. But if you're not that bothered about it being your voice, here is an example. So this is just me picking a voice on there and putting the chapter 1 of Smart Money in.
Smart Money: How to Create Financial Freedom by Charlie Reading and Charlotte Colton.
Needs to get that bit right, doesn't it?
Preface. I sat, pinned to my chair, unable to move. I don't know if it was fear or something else, but my legs refused to function and I couldn't open my mouth. Being interrogated by a man who I can only describe as a Goliath,